Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of our Versus series. Thank you guys so much for the reception that you've given the first episode. We're going to be looking at alternatives to the Prime Cannavaro SBC as requested by this comment around here somewhere. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So guys, welcome to the video, and we're going to be going through the two alternatives that I picked out for this Prime Cannavaro and whether they are usable, who is the better card, and both the clips of all of them, as well as our summaries and in looking into each individual player. So without further ado, let's get into this review. The Versus series for this day, of course, is revolved around a question around the Prime Cannavaro SBC and whether this was good value or whether there is an alternative to that card to not having to lock in your coins and make sure you're not wasting a lot of money there in terms of the price will come down eventually. Is it worth putting it into this SBC for now? Now, the two alternatives that I came up with were, of course, to try a mid Cannavaro, who is slightly slower than the baby, slightly slower than the Prime as well, but still a very good option in defense, and the baby Puyol, base Puyol, 86 rated right back card at centre back. So we're going to be trying that card out at centre back. You guys are going to see clips of both of them. First of all, we're going to go into the summaries of them both and see how they both performed. So without further ado, let's get into Cannavaro's summary. So guys, welcome to Fabio Cannavaro's summary, and what we're going to go through here is the price that you'll be paying compared to what the SBC is. We'll go into the price of the SBC afterwards, but just to kind of get a feel of how things are, we're going to go through all this stuff first. So Cannavaro, 470k on the PlayStation, 406k on the Xbox, 479 on the PC. 2-star skill moves, a 3-star weak foot, right-footed, 5'9", of course, so very, very small for a centre-back. Low attacking work rate, high defensive work rate, so that is really good for a centre-back as well, guys. Although he is small, he's got really, really great jumping, so that doesn't really affect him as much. We'll get into some of those stats in a second. And his work rates are fantastic, so he doesn't necessarily just gamble forward, getting into needless situations. He stays back, he holds his line well, and defends first, which is the most important thing for me as a centre-back. Guys, in terms of his key stats, now, one thing that really does stand out to me is the acceleration. Now, that isn't huge compared to the Prime or even the Baby, but 80 acceleration is workable, especially with this card. You can chase down a lot of strikers with this card and get in some nice tackles. Now, the other thing that's obviously stand out about this card, guys, is his standing and sliding tackle. Absolutely phenomenal at both. He's one of the cleanest tacklers I've used on this game this year. Really, really phenomenal card in that sense. Composure is excellent as well. Reactions are high as well. And the agility is fantastic on this card. So his technical ability isn't actually that bad. His short passing is reasonable. And combining all of that, again, with the fact that he's 5'9", you've got to take into account his 87 jumping gets him high. Involved in the headers. I mean, sometimes you will struggle against bigger defenders on corners and strikers off corners as well. But I would advise you guys to use another centre-back who's bigger or a midfielder who's bigger to take those challenges on. Cannavaro obviously is not built for that, but in terms of the gameplay, getting involved in defending in all situations, whether it's on the floor, in the air, or somewhere in between, he can do it all. Guys, really is a fantastic card. We'll get into the chemistry style and more afterwards, but first of all, we're going to go into some of CARLES Puyol's summary. So guys, looking at the CARLES Puyol summary, now what made me choose this card actually was the fact that his speed is relatively high. On all three cards, Carles Puyol's defending is fantastic, so that's something that's really, really great. But his speed on this card is particularly high, and because he's a right back, his price is really, really low. So you can put this guy in at 7 chem on your center back slot and you can get, you know, a reasonable result out of him. 219 on the PS4, 228 on the Xbox, 280 on the PC. Again, first impressions, this card, guys, fantastic card, really, really nice to use. 2-star skill moves, 3-star weak foot, 5'10", right footed, of course, so very similar to Cannavaro, the only difference being that he has a medium attacking work rate instead of a high defensive work rate rather than a low attacking work rate. So Cannavaro likely to hold his position in defense a little more than Puyol. Nevertheless, this Puyol card is absolutely fantastic, and looking at the stats, you can see why. 91 stamina, he runs to the end of the game. It's absolutely phenomenal, this card. One thing that's actually, I think, understated on this card is the defensive awareness of this card. This card has 89 defensive awareness. I think that's actually low. I think his defensive positioning, his reading of the game is absolutely sensational, and that makes him a really, really fun card to use. I love defending with him, especially considering the value that you get out of this card really is fantastic as well. He maybe isn't as quick as Cannavaro off the mark, but does maintain that speed at a higher level over longer distances. The major difference, I would say, guys, between the two of them, and really what might be a key deciding factor in this, is the agility. 55 agility for Puyol. Now, you will see a couple of dribbles there, but that is mainly to showcase the stiffness of this card. He is a very stiff mover compared to Cannavaro, who in some instances is very fluid, very good on the ball and able to use it in those tight areas. His passing is pretty similar as well, so I mean, you get a lot of the similar factors out of this card. Now, the reason I've taken these two cards as well specifically is because of their height. Both are under 6 foot, close to 5'9", where the Prime Cannavaro is. So we wanted to take something that would be almost a like for like and see if we could find a cheaper alternative or something that is just as good as the Prime without having to invest all those coins into an untradeable card. Without further ado, and speaking of that, we're going to look at the SBC for Prime Fabio Cannavaro. So guys, getting into the SBC for this card, and guys, as I've been filming this over the days, the price of this has actually been dropping. It was 820k a couple of days ago. It's now 790k. This is dropping fast, and the requirements for these SBCs, and as more and more cards come out and generally push the market downwards, the prices of these SBCs is going to fall, so you will be able to get this for cheaper and cheaper. And that's something that we will consider at the end of this, guys, is whether this is worth actually doing as a comparison to the other two. If the other two aren't worth it, I will recommend you do the Prime SBC, but we will get into that later on and whether I think that is in fact the case. As you guys can see, 7 squads, the most expensive one, 312k. Now, again, here you get some nice rewards back as well, but the requirements for this challenge are, if we just get into one of these squads here, a squad rating of 88, team chemistry of 50, and 11 players in the squad. Of course, nothing too crazy there in the last one. But what that does mean is you have to buy some seriously expensive players to put him in this SBC. And 314k on one SBC is a lot of coin. If you guys have untradeable fodder, then this, of course, changes things a little bit. I mean, although it's not free, because untradeable is still untradeable in the sense of it still holds a value to an SBC card where you could put that elsewhere. It does change things in that it's becoming a little bit cheaper, as they say. But actually, guys, what I would say is that that's the real one to consider there if you're willing to do that one there. The rest of them fairly cheap, actually. 187k, 174, 83k there. So really nothing there. And of course, the bronze, silver, and gold squads as well. In terms of SBCs, for the card that you're getting, I think this is actually very reasonably priced. Cannavaro himself isn't that expensive, as we'll go and take a look. He's 996, or just shy of $1 million. He will go back up above $1 million in a very short space of time. So 790k is a serious discount. 200k saved is a serious discount, but again, you don't have access to a tradable card. So that is something really to consider in all of this that we're going to go through. And first of all, we're going to get into some of Cannavaro, the mid-icon cards clips. So without further ado, let's head to the tape. So guys, getting into some of mid-icon Cannavaro's clips here. And guys, the first thing I wanted to highlight is that his speed really does help on this card. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. You can see there the variety of ways in which he wins the ball back is really, really phenomenal. In terms of, I'm not scared to take on anybody in terms of tackling them or whether they run straight at me, because I know this card, he's so clean in the tackle and so quick to recover that it makes it really easy to defend with him. Puyol doesn't necessarily have that level of speed, but I think that that's because of the agility and the reactions, slight boost that Cannavaro has on this card. Again, here, guys, picking the ball up so cleanly, and what you'll see time and time again here, again, look at that positioning, beautiful play. And I'm not scared to clear that. I don't want to clear that out straight away. I just want to take it down, control it, and play out from the back again. Again, lovely tackle there. What you'll see over and over again is fantastic positioning. There again, fantastic positioning, great positioning in the box, able to get the ball back really easily, very quickly, and then being able to transition out from defense to attack. Because of that agility, you can create space for yourself with this card. And that makes it a hell of a lot easier to defend with him, because all of a sudden you can play with confidence from the back. I think that's a big thing for me in FIFA especially, is being able to play it with confidence from the back, making sure that we're able to get involved in from defense to attack, making sure that we can control the play from defense to attack, and transitioning cleanly as well. I mean, look at that tackle there. That was so clean. And in other instances, it may seem like, oh, that's a penalty, but he just cleans and takes the ball so easily. against attackers that it really is a really nice card to use. In terms of pace difference, there isn't actually that much of a difference of pace. Of course, we will review that at the end of the video when we come to the comparison section of this video, but overall this card is fantastic in the pace department, and that 80 acceleration really does come into play, especially off the mark. You can see there again, chasing down and quickly getting the tackle in to stop the striker from getting away, again using that pace, stomping out the attack, and it's just so easy to take the ball out with him then and play a lovely ball there over to the left hand side. Now his long passing and short passing isn't great, but it is usable. Again, there you see the fantastic jumping, great in the air, even though he is only 5'9". Here again, closing out the chance, easy tackle, turn away from the man, take the ball away, and play a nice ball out. The pace is very usable in this card, and that's probably what makes it really fun as well. Guys, one thing I would say about this card is that his sprint speed is low. So if you get into a chase battle with this card, you will lose it. His acceleration is good until he reaches that max speed, which means that if he's on the chase, it's unlikely that he'll be able to recover. Again, guys, I'm sorry for the laggy gameplay. I've been having real bad internet issues recently, but these are the best clips that I could get for you guys, so hopefully you're still enjoying them. Again, they're taking the ball out nice and easy. Now, the acceleration helps with getting away as well and dribbling out of defense too. But the sprint speed is a real problem, and I often find myself chasing back with Puyol more than Cannavaro because I thought Cannavaro was never catching him, despite the fact that he's got a decent sprint speed. Again here, we get lucky because of that great defensive positioning. That low attacking work rate means that he just stays back, sits in that position, and holds his position really well. So again, the sprint speed doesn't matter so much. But if you guys like to play a higher line, force your opponents to play a little bit deeper compared to your defense, then it becomes a bit of an issue when you're chasing back. I wouldn't recommend you play a high line with this card. Whilst he is fantastic at all the defensive facets, it's not something that he will really flourish in playing a high line or anything like that. You have to play a sort of deeper line with this card, and that, I know that might not suit a lot of people in general. Guys, you're just going to see again here as we wrap up in these clips, a lot of tackling, a lot of just quick anticipation and clean tackles, and that's the main thing as well that I want to stress is look how clean all these plays are. Takes the ball and immediately you're transitioning into the attack. In these last couple of clips here, again, jockeying, and then taking that ball so cleanly, and again playing a ball out there. In this final one, we get header on goal. So guys, now we're going to get on to some of the baby Puyol clips. Let's go to the tape. So guys, what you're going to get to see here in terms of Puyol's clips is totally different to how I used Cannavaro. This card is really more of a chasing card. I don't say that because of his 2 increase on the sprint speed. I just found that more often than not, I would chase people down with this card rather than sit in the position and try and play aggressively with him. Again here, we tackled the ball there, they get the ball back, and again, chase him down, hunt down the space, and clean tackle again. Now, whilst Cannavaro is the cleaner of the 2 tacklers, Puyol is an absolute warrior in defense. And guys, currently I use this card in my team. I sold Cannavaro, I kept Puyol. Now, that was also because of linkability, but it speaks volumes to the fact that I kept this card over someone else that I could go for, say Fernando Hierro, who has a similar sort of pace level but more height. Again, fantastic positioning there, an easy ball out again. This Puyol card is not as quick as the Cannavaro card, and that's something that you will notice off the mark. He does struggle sometimes off the mark to get the ball and stop people from going places. But again, guys, what you do gain in this card is a higher sprint speed and the same level of aggression in tackling and being able to stop the opponent from scoring. Again here, a lovely block and a play out from there from the back. Winning the header here, that's one of the big things about this card, guys, is the strength. Again here, chasing back against the man, good strength again. Now, one thing I want to say as well, guys, both of these cards have fantastic aggression, and that's something that's really noticeable in these cards, is that you'll have 2 cards here that can both defend really well. So what it really comes down to, in my opinion, and this is the key factor between the 2 as we see more of Puyol, brilliant clips there, lovely strength there to hold off Kenny Dalglish, is the agility level and the technical competence, I guess, which was what would be there. Again, lovely positioning. Puyol's defensive positioning, by the way, guys, is something that I mentioned in the start of the video. It's absolutely phenomenal. He was often in the right place at the right time, saving Cannavaro's rear end a lot, and holding the people off. Again, taking the foul there and holding the man off. Again here, winning this ball. Now, this is so important because the striker could easily win that. Lovely header from Puyol, good aggression, jumping, height, everything there to get into the air and stop that chance. It really comes down to the technical ability of both of these cards. I found that Puyol is far less technical than Cannavaro. And although you'll see a couple of dribbles towards the end of his clips, Puyol's just not as quick as Cannavaro, and that means that even on the turn, you have to be pretty careful with how you're defending with this card. You can be a little more careless with Cannavaro in the sense that you can miss a tackle and turn pretty quick and get back with him. With Puyol, you have to be a lot more purposeful with your tackles. Think a little more, be a bit more calculated, because if you miss with him, he's unlikely to be able to recover the position and get back into that centre back slot. Something that the Prime Cannavaro will also have over both of these cards is that agility increase. But guys, as you can see here, a lot of the time, because his positioning is so good, now it says 89 on the card, I think it's higher than that. Guys, he was honestly in the right place so many times. You'll have seen that from some of the block shots that he's got. He just seems to always pop up and get in the right place to stop these attacks from happening. Again here, lose the ball there, win the ball back, strong tackle there again. He does it a lot where he puts himself in the right place at the right time, and that means that it makes defending with him a lot easier. Again here, good strength, pressing up on the man, winning the ball back with a nice clean tackle. Also a very clean tackler, guys. Not as clean as Cannavaro, but clean enough that you won't be committing many fouls with this card. I did find that I gave away, I think it was 2 penalties with Puyol, 1 with Cannavaro in the games that I used them in, so there is that to consider. But guys, overall, these guys are so clean with the tackling, so good at tackling, that I wasn't really too worried about giving away fouls with them because they were so good at it. Again, guys, these last couple of clips just to show you the clunkiness of the card that I was talking about, and will really illustrate the difference between Cannavaro and Puyol. Again, we get away from 1 there, but look at how clunky that turn is. Really difficult to do that. So that will be the main consideration between these 2 cards for sure. So guys, we have all 3 cards lined up here to have a look at, guys. And what we're going to look at first of all is the total in-game stats. Now, total stats, of course, 434 for Cannavaro, 423 for mid Cannavaro, and 424 for base Puyol. So actually, base Puyol has more on face stats than mid Cannavaro. Total in-game stats, 2012 for mid Cannavaro, 1998 for base Puyol, and 2065 for prime Cannavaro. So there isn't that much difference between them. Now, the key stat differences are evident on the card when you look at them. Prime Cannavaro, of course, has a very high acceleration, which is really something that is great about this card, something that has to be taken into account as well. His sprint speed is also very good, higher than base Puyol, so really in that facet of the game he is a lot better and able to do a lot more with that sort of pace. Shooting, we're not going to take into account, guys. I don't really think it's that important in terms of these cards. Here, guys, the passing of these 3 guys, 73 for prime Cannavaro, 72 for Puyol, 71 for mid Cannavaro, so not really losing out on a lot in the long passing, worse than base Puyol. So again, base Puyol showing up that he can do this just as well as anyone else in this game so far that we're looking at. In terms of dribbling, prime Cannavaro 85 agility there, 82 balance. Now that is significantly higher than Puyol and mid Cannavaro, and that's really something that's a big factor in this card as well, whether you should think about doing this card. Now, mid Cannavaro's reactions are higher than prime Cannavaro, and that's something to take into account as well. Composure is also slightly better, but overall the differences here between prime Cannavaro and mid Cannavaro come in the speed and agility, and that may be why this card is considered so good and so valuable in terms of that stuff, because he's able to turn quickly, move quickly, get across the defense quickly, and is important for that kind of stuff. In terms of the defending, prime Cannavaro comes out on top, but not by much in any category over the mid. So that is something to really consider as well, guys, is that what you're really paying for here is excellence in this category. But given that the difference isn't that much, is it really that much of a difference? Again here, guys, the main differences on the physicality are a few points on strength and aggression, but mainly jumping. So the high jump and physicality there for prime Cannavaro isn't as evident over the mid one as it may seem from the face of the card. We're going to get rid of Cannavaro and have a look at the winner between these 2 now in Cannavaro and Puyol. Now, as you guys can see, Puyol and Cannavaro, they're pretty split across the stats. In the key ones like dribbling, Cannavaro wipes the floor with Puyol. In defending, the one that Puyol wins on is the slide tackle, but the difference between them again isn't that much. I would say that Puyol manages to do a good job of being as good as Cannavaro. Cannavaro most of the time is a little bit better than Puyol. And so, guys, we come to the final decision of this video, and the key thing that I would look to consider in this card, in these 2 cards, is I've picked them both based on the height, which means that we've got to look at one thing in particular. 2 things in particular, sorry. One is the defending and physicality. Those are the combined value for me. And 2 is the dribbling and passing, and that is the other combined value. Now, in terms of physicality and defending, I didn't see much in between them. If I'm being honest, I thought Puyol was just as fantastic a defender as Cannavaro was, and significantly cheaper, which is of course a factor in all of this, so you have to consider that as well. But the key difference and the reason that this card wins overall for me is that the dribbling and the passing is so much better on Cannavaro than it is on Puyol. Unfortunately with Puyol, once you make a mistake, you are generally out of the attack then. You don't have much opportunity to get back in. With Cannavaro, his recovery is so much better, his positioning is better, and his overall tackling actually is cleaner, despite the fact there isn't much between them. I said his overall tackling is cleaner and simpler as well. I thought the card was absolutely fantastic, and in honesty, I would have kept him if the link ability worked for me as well. So that will mean that for this episode, the winner of the Versus series is in fact Mid Cannavaro. Now, the final recommendation as to whether I would buy this card or not. Guys, I'm looking at the Prime Cannavaro SBC. Now, there's not a lot between the two cards. If I'm honest with you guys, I would invest in this Mid Cannavaro and wait until that SBC price drops, or until the Prime Cannavaro price drops, because when you can buy the Cannavaro, the Prime one, it's worth the upgrade, I think. I don't think putting the coins into the SBC is worth it, and for the time being, I would hold off until that price drops a little more, because eventually the SBC will become too expensive given the ratings on the squads, and I think you'll get a Prime Cannavaro for cheaper than the SBC value. I know that may sound ridiculous, but the SBC value will stay, whereas the Prime value will eventually come down, especially with Prime moments coming as well. Guys, I would go for this Mid Cannavaro card. It's an absolutely phenomenal card, and I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing what he can do and seeing what Puyol could do as well. Guys, thank you again for the support on the first Versus episode. It was absolutely phenomenal. We're going to tune out now. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please do smash that like button, and until next time, I'll see you all in a bit.